First story. In the desolate, frost-bitten wilds of Blackwood Valley, Canada, Emily Harper stood vibrant and youthful, her heart alight with a fire that belied her 20 years. She had just inherited a sprawling estate, a remote ranch known as Willow Creek, from her late father. Yet her joy was tempered by a chilling legacy of vengeance. More precisely, Emily, alongside her three cousins, the Brooks brothers, Nathan, Liam, and Ethan, had waged a brutal life-or-death struggle against a ruthless magnate, Victor Slade. This sinister figure had murdered Emily's father and her twin sister, Abigail, in cold blood. After a harrowing battle, Emily reclaimed control of Willow Creek, a victory steeped in blood and shadow dot as the townsfolk celebrated the triumph. Old man Henry Brooks, father to the three brothers, revealed his own vendetta. Years ago, Victor Slade, then known as Marcus Thorne, had betrayed the Order of the Crimson Dawn, a secret society tied to the Brooks family. Now, with Slade defeated, Emily was the new mistress of Willow Creek, but her heart ached with loneliness. Henry, ever the schemer, urged her to wed Nathan, her childhood love, fulfilling a pact made 2 generations ago, that the heirs of the Harper and Brooks families would unite in marriage. That night, Emily lay in her candlelit room, dreaming of a wedding with Nathan, the man she loved with a passion that burned like wildfire. Her mind drifted to a night of forbidden ecstasy, a memory seared into her soul, a night when she surrendered herself to Nathan, amidst a blaze that consumed the darkness around them. She could never forget that fateful night, as Liam and Ethan set fire to Victor Slade's hidden opium fields. Emily ventured into the shadowed woods, searching for Nathan, whom Slade had imprisoned somewhere in the forsaken valley. Under a moonless sky, she stumbled through the eerie forest, her breath visible in the frigid air. Suddenly, a spectral figure appeared, a wraith-like vision of her twin, Abigail, drifting in the mist. Abigail's ghostly form was youthful yet heavy with unspoken sorrow, her eyes hollow with the weight of her tragic end. Emily had heard whispers of Abigail's fate from her sister's restless spirit. A malevolent sorcerer, known only as Master Seven, had ensnared Abigail with dark enchantments, defiling her purity before cursing her to a torturous death. Now, Abigail's ghost hovered before Emily, her voice a chilling whisper carried on. "The wind, I am unworthy of Nathan," the specter moaned. "Master Seven stole my innocence, and in the realm of shades, I learned you were his first love. For the sake of our family's honor, you stepped aside, letting me take your place. As his betrothed, a sacrifice that broke your heart." The ghost paused, its form flickering like a dying flame, then continued, "I am but a shadow now, a wraith bound to this cursed land. You, Emily, are the living soul meant for Nathan. The mark of purity still graces your hand. Go to him, he awaits you beyond the veil of this wretched night." The thought of reuniting with Nathan filled Emily with a desperate joy, yet dread gnawed at her. How could she face him, knowing the tangled web of love and duty that bound them to Abigail's memory? Despite the ghost's blessing, guilt gnawed at Emily's heart. She knew Nathan and Abigail had lived as husband and wife, if only briefly. As Abigail's spirit finished speaking, it vanished into the inferno consuming Slade's opium fields, ignited by Liam and Ethan's wrath. At that moment, Emily glimpsed a dark figure darting through the trees, moving with unnatural speed. It wasn't one of Slade's hired thugs or her cousins. It was a silhouette she knew too well. Braving the oppressive darkness of the forest, Emily pursued, her heart pounding. As she closed the distance, she called out, her voice trembling, "Nathan, is that you?" "It's Emily." The figure didn't respond, only slowed enough for her to catch up before leading her deeper into the woods, as if luring her to a predestined fate. At last, in a moonlit clearing, the figure halted. A low, cautious voice broke the silence. "It's Nathan. But are you truly Emily or Abigail's ghost? Come to haunt me?" Emily's heart leaped as she recognized Nathan, his rugged features unchanged despite the years. "It's me, Emily," she cried. "Not Abigail's ghost. I came to Slade's lair to find you." Overwhelmed, Emily threw herself into his arms, clinging to him as if the years of separation could be erased. But Nathan gently pushed her back, his voice heavy with guilt. "This embrace feels like betrayal to Abigail." His words struck Emily like a blade. In less than 2 years, had Nathan forgotten her, clinging only to the memory of her dead sister? Anger and desperation surged within her. "Abigail is a shadow now," she declared. "I'm the one who's alive, your first love." Nathan hesitated, his voice faltering. "Abigail and I were together, if only for 49 days. We were husband and wife. I can't betray her memory while her grave is still fresh." Emily's heart sank as Abigail's ghost had once shared a harrowing truth. Master Seven had tormented her daily with dark spells, and Nathan, helpless, could only hold her to ease her agony. He had vowed to love her as his wife, despite her stolen purity, honoring their family's pact. Now, standing in the haunted woods, Emily gazed into Nathan's eyes, her own brimming with unsaid truths. "If Abigail were alive, I'd never come between you," she whispered. "But she's gone, and her spirit urged me to reclaim our love. I want to give myself to you here in this burning night." Nathan, though no stranger to desire, had resisted temptation until Abigail's suffering broke his resolve. Now, with Emily before him, her warmth and scent intoxicating in the desolate forest, his restraint wavered. The air grew thick with the calls of night creatures, and Emily's whispered words, promises of love and solace, stirred something primal within him. Sensing his turmoil, Emily drew him close, her lips finding his in a kiss that reignited their long-buried passion. The forest seemed to pulse with their fervor, the crackling of distant flames mingling with their ragged breaths. Nathan, unable to resist, pulled Emily into an embrace, their bodies entwined as the world around them dissolved into shadow and fire. When Emily awoke, the mark of purity on her hand had vanished, a silent testament to the night's forbidden union. She clung to the memory of that night with Nathan, her heart swelling with both bliss and unease. But as she lay in her room at Willow Creek, a cold wind snuffed out the candles, plunging the space into darkness. Abigail's ghost materialized, her form more vivid and ominous than before. The specter bore no jealousy, only a chilling serenity. "When you and the Brooks brothers hunted Victor Slade to that forsaken shrine," she said, "Father and I uncovered a secret. The shrine is a vault, guarded by the spirit of Elias Ward, a cursed caretaker who once served our family. It holds a treasure beyond imagining." Abigail's ghost drifted closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Elias revealed that the shrine is sacred to the guardian of the veil, a deity of justice. The souls of Slade and his lackey, Amos Reed, are trapped there, bound by spectral chains to guard the treasure. They cannot pass to the underworld, for their crimes demand eternal penance." A new figure emerged from the shadows, an ancient, silver-haired wraith, Elias Ward himself. His presence filled the room with an oppressive weight. Two grotesque spirits, the Black and White Reapers, appeared beside him, their skeletal forms towering over the scene. The White Reaper, its voice like grinding bones, spoke to Elias. "We know you, Ward, favored by the Guardian of the Veil. You seek a keeper for this shrine, but why protect these vile souls?" The Black Reaper interjected. "Slade and Reed must face the 18 gates of torment. If they remain, they'll wreak havoc on the living." Elias's ghost, unyielding, replied, "Slade once Marcus Thorne murdered your father, who tended Willow Creek in my stead. His crimes are unforgivable, but I need their wretched souls to guard a treasure until a worthy heart claims it." The Reaper's hollow eyes widened. "A treasure within the shrine?" they asked. Elias nodded, his voice cold as the grave. "A secret not to be revealed. For centuries, I've sought a soul pure enough to inherit it, but the greedy and cruel like. Slade and Reed covet it endlessly. Their damned spirits will keep it safe until the chosen one arrives." Reluctantly, the Reapers agreed, leaving Slade and Reed's souls to serve as cursed sentinels. The White Reaper warned, "If they disturb the living, you answer to the Lord of the Underworld." Abigail's ghost turned to Emily, her eyes piercing. "Do you understand, sister? The treasure Elias guards is tied to our family's fate. Slade and Reed's souls are but pawns in a greater design." Emily nodded, a chill running through her as she grasped the weight of her sister's words. Abigail's form faded into the void, leaving Emily alone with the haunting truth of Willow Creek's secrets. A treasure, a curse, and a destiny yet to unfold. The morning after Emily Harper's haunting encounter with her sister's ghost, Henry Brooks, father to Nathan, Liam, and Ethan, summoned the group to the grand hall of Willow Creek Ranch. His weathered face was grave as he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of a chilling revelation. "Last night," Henry began, "Spirit of James Harper, Emily's father, appeared to me in a dream. He spoke of a derelict shrine deep in the forest, a place steeped in the history of Willow Creek. It harbors a secret vault, a treasure hidden from the world." The members of the Starlight Covenant, Emily and the Brooks brothers, knew of the abandoned shrine. It was the site where they had ended the vile reign of Victor Slade, the murderer of Emily's family. Yet none of the brothers had heard of its connection to Willow Creek or the cryptic treasure Henry now revealed. All eyes were fixed on Henry, but Emily, restless with curiosity, interrupted. "Mr. Brooks, do you know the history of this shrine?" Henry's gaze settled on Emily, his expression unreadable. "I know little," he admitted. "Only what your father's spirit shared." Before James Harper was entrusted by the Order of the Crimson Dawn to manage Willow Creek, the ranch had been under the stewardship of Elias Ward, a former eunuch who once served in the imperial court of a distant empire during its feudal era. When foreign armies stormed the palace and the old regime fell, Elias and his wife, a former court maiden known as the Lady of the Veil, fled to the wilderness. Seeking refuge, they joined the Crimson Dawn and were sent to establish Willow Creek, hoping to live out their days in peace. Emily's brow furrowed, her voice tinged with confusion. "Mr. Brooks, how could a eunuch have a wife? And what's this Lady of the Veil?" Henry's eyes softened, though a shadow of reluctance crossed his face. "It's a long tale, but I'll explain. In the imperial court, the Empress Dowager, a formidable figure, often granted her favored eunuchs the right to wed Pallas. Maidens known as Ladies of the Veil to care for each other in their later years. He hesitated, glancing at Emily, then pressed on despite her presence. This practice began to curb Forbidden's desires within the palace. The Empress had witnessed unnatural liaisons between maidens, between eunuchs that defied the court's rigid traditions. Loneliness drove them to such acts, their youthful passions stifled by the palace's rules. To preserve the sanctity of the court, the Empress paired eunuchs with maidens, though their unions could never bear children, as the eunuchs were purified. Henry's voice grew somber as he continued. Your father's spirit told me that when chaos engulfed the palace, Elias and his wife lingered, gathering treasures before fleeing. When the Crimson Dawn tasked them with building Willow Creek, they brought their wealth, rumored to be buried somewhere on these lands. James, upon taking over the ranch, received priceless jewels from Elias, items only royalty or the wealthiest could possess. He believed the rumors of a hidden vault were true. Henry paused, his eyes distant. Elias and his wife later dedicated themselves to building shrines, spreading charity. The abandoned shrine in the forest may hold their treasure, meant not for personal gain, but for acts of good, according to your father's spirit. Emily's voice trembled as she spoke. Last night, Abigail's ghost appeared to me. She confirmed the shrine is sacred to the guardian of the veil and guarded by restless spirits, including those of Victor Slade and Amos Reed. But neither she nor father could say where the vault lies. Nathan, silent until now, spoke up, his voice steady but laced with intrigue. We know something of Elias Ward, but to find this treasure, we need more about him and his wife. Only then can we uncover this unclaimed fortune. Henry stroked his chin, deep in thought. I only know what James's spirit revealed. You must investigate the shrine yourselves to uncover the truth. Emily's skepticism surfaced. Even with Father and Abigail's warnings, I doubt the treasure is there. The shrine is overgrown with cobwebs and decay, no sign of a vault. Henry's gaze sharpened. Your father and sister's spirits spoke of it. You must go to the shrine and see for yourselves. Nathan nodded, his resolve firm. It's not far. Let's go and uncover the truth. No one objected to Nathan's plan. Emily and the Brooks brothers set out for the shrine, the resting place of Victor Slade and Amos, Reed's wretched souls. The 3 men and 1 woman reached the shrine as the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting an eerie twilight over Blackwood Valley. The air grew heavy, the forest unnaturally silent, as if holding its breath. The shrine was modest, a weathered structure with a slanted roof adorned with faded carvings of twin wolves facing east and west, their heads converging. At the center, in a primal circular emblem. Inside, cobwebs draped the walls like ghostly tapestries, and dust choked the air, evidence of years of neglect. Yet, the altar remained untouched, a chilling testament to its sanctity. At the highest tier stood a statue of the Lady of Mercy, flanked by 2 childlike figures. To her left was the guardian of the veil, and to her right, the celestial matron, both radiating an unsettling majesty. Below, statues of warriors and sages lined the lower tiers. General Ironclad, the 12, midwives, and the twin sentinels of virtue and vice, their stone eyes fixed on the entrance. Ancient drums and gongs, untouched by time, gleamed faintly in the dim light. Emily's voice broke the silence, her unease palpable. This must be where Elias and his wife lived. The shrine is intact, its relics pristine, yet it's abandoned. Why is no one tending it? Her question echoed the brothers' own doubts. Nathan, driven by instinct, ventured to the overgrown garden behind the shrine, searching for signs of Elias or his wife. His steps faltered as he stumbled upon a crumbling gravestone beside it, a smaller, unmarked mound. Scattered nearby were bleached bones, stark against the earth, their origins unknown and their presence foreboding. The four, Emily Harper and the Brooks brothers, Nathan, Liam, and Ethan, rushed to the garden behind the forsaken shrine, their hearts pounding with discovery. A weathered gravestone bore the name Elias Ward, confirming the resting place of the enigmatic former steward of Willow Creek. Beside it lay a small, unmarked mound, too humble to be a proper grave, offering no clue about the fate of Elias's wife, the Lady of the Vale. Scattered around, bleached bones gleamed under the fading sunlight, their origins a chilling mystery. Nathan, his voice sharp with unease, broke the silence. Elias Ward is dead, but where is his wife? Why isn't she here tending the shrine or her husband's grave? Is this mound hers? And whose bones are these? Before anyone could answer, a rasping voice slithered from behind, chilling the air. I'm still here. Who says I've abandoned my husband's shrine or his grave? The group spun around, eight eyes widening in a mix of shock and dread. Before them stood a haggard crone, her appearance ghastly, like a specter from a nightmare. Her tangled gray hair spilled wildly, her hooked nose jetted like a witch from grim folklore, and her bulging eyes glared unblinkingly, boring into their souls. Emily, summoning her courage, stepped forward. Are you the Lady of the Vale, wife of Elias Ward? The crone's lips curled into a crooked smile. Indeed, I am she, wife to my revered husband Elias Ward. Why do you trespass here? Nathan, ever forthright, answered. The spirits of James Harper and Abigail, Emily's father and sister, appeared to us, revealing a treasure hidden by Elias Ward. We seek it to honor his wish, to use it for charity and aid the needy. No sooner had Nathan spoken than the air grew thick with an unearthly wail. A host of spectral figures materialized, ghosts of all sizes, their cries a cacophony of anguish and rage. Some moaned piteously, others shrieked. We guard the masters. Treasure. Any who dare touch it will perish. The crone's form shimmered, her grotesque visage fading to reveal a ghostly woman in her middle years. No longer hideous, she exuded a faded elegance, clad in a tattered crimson gown, its silk patched and frayed. Though not radiant, her presence held a haunting grace. As the restless spirits howled, threatening to drive the intruders away, the ghostly woman raised a hand, silencing them. Hold, she commanded. This is Emily, daughter of James Harper, heir to Willow Creek. Her words quelled the spirit's fury. An intense calm settled over the shrine. The four intruders felt a flicker of relief, though the weight of countless unseen eyes lingered. Emily, her voice steady despite her racing heart, asked, Do you know my father and sister? The ghost's eyes softened, her spectral form glowing faintly. I am Clara Wren, wife of Elias Ward, first steward of Willow Creek. How could I not know James Harper, to whom my husband entrusted this land as its second keeper? Emily pressed. Further, her curiosity tinged with unease. Abigail's spirit said she saw Elias Ward here. Why do we only find you now? Clara's ghostly visage flickered, her voice heavy with sorrow. My husband's spirit is here, but the treasure is under siege. Elias and the other restless souls have gone to guard it from unseen threats. Her words revealed a chilling truth. The treasure was not within the shrine itself. Nathan, emboldened yet wary, ventured a question. James's spirit told us that when you and Elias fled the imperial court, you carried great wealth. But why then do you appear so anguished? Clara's eyes blazed with sudden suspicion, her voice sharp as a blade. Are you agents of Silas Crowe, that vile traitor? Do you seek the treasure for your own greed? Nathan, taken aback, shook his head. We know no Silas Crowe. We came only at the urging of James and Abigail's spirits, seeking the truth. Tears, faint and ethereal, glimmered in Clara's eyes as her spectral form trembled. My husband and I have waited centuries for this moment, she whispered, her voice breaking. You, Emily, heir to James Harper, known as the Keeper of 10 gates and 8 hells, and your companions, living souls of this mortal realm, may be the ones to vanquish Silas Crowe, whose greed knows no bounds. I will reveal the truth. Second story. After her husband left for work, Mrs. Yoshiko was completely free to herself. She entered the study that the couple shared and continued writing a long story for the summer special issue of magazine. Mrs. Yoshiko was a renowned female writer known for her flowing prose. Her husband was a high-ranking official in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but he seemed overshadowed by his wife's rising fame. Every day, she received stacks of letters from readers across the country. That morning, as she sat at her desk, her first task was to read the new batch of letters that had arrived. She read all of them. She started with the short ones, noting their contents. Finally, she turned to the longer letters. Occasionally, she received short stories that writers had painstakingly sent for her to read and critique. Those stories were often lengthy, rambling, and sleep-inducing. That day, Mrs. Yoshiko also received a manuscript, but this was an exceptionally unusual one. With no title at the top, it was probably a letter, she thought. Dear Madame, Mrs. Yoshiko paused, pondering. It might just be a letter. She skimmed a few lines below, but the more she read, the more engrossed she became. The letter's compelling nature drew her in, and she read it straight through. Dear Madam, I hope you will forgive the abruptness of this overly long letter from a stranger. Its contents will deeply move you, and the emotion will linger. In this letter, I confess all my innermost thoughts and the things I have done. For the past few months, I have hidden from the light of civilization, living furtively, like a goblin. No one in the world knows of my actions. But recently, a great change has occurred in my soul, and I can no longer keep it secret. I must confess. At this point, you may wonder where I am leading you. However, I ask for your patience as I reveal my confession. I am at a loss for where to begin. What I have done is so strange. I lack the words to describe it. I believe no human language can accurately convey the details of my actions. Still, I will try to recount them in chronological order. First, let me make clear that I am unimaginably ugly. That is a crucial fact. If you saw my face, you would faint. But within this grotesquely hideous face, cruelly, lies a heart that throbs passionately for beauty. A heart burning with desire. Second, I am an ordinary craftsman. If I had been born into a noble family, I could have relied on influence and wealth to find solace for my ugliness. And if I were an artist with exceptional talent, I could forget the sorrow of my abnormal appearance through poetry or music, finding oblivion. But I am merely a furniture maker, specializing in crafting all kinds of chairs. By delving deeply into this trade, I have made a name for myself in the industry. Customers who prefer elaborate chairs order from my shop. From a simple carpenter, I became a designer and maker of various chairs. I immersed myself in creative work, sketching one design after another. My greatest pleasure was sitting in the chair I had just completed. It was professional satisfaction. As the creator, I had the right to sit in it first, even if the client was a minister or president. Sitting in those special chairs, I often pondered, letting my imagination roam free. I envisioned the people who would sit comfortably in my chairs. They were aristocrats, living in magnificent, opulent mansions. I also imagined my creation placed in a luxurious room behind a massive wooden desk. On the desk, a vase of flowers, their fragrance wafting gently through the air. Thinking this way, I felt as if I too had entered that world of luxury, like the chair I had made. I longed to live in that atmosphere of high society and nobility. One day, I was commissioned to make a massive armchair, a special type for a foreign hotel in Yokohama. This kind had never been made in Japan. It should have been ordered from abroad. But hearing my reputation, the hotel owner commissioned me to impress the foreign client. I poured my entire artistic soul into crafting that grand chair. I worked obsessively, forgetting to eat or sleep. When it was finished, I was more elated than ever. This could be called my greatest success. As usual, I sat in the chair first. It was utterly perfect, so luxurious, so comfortable. The springs were just right, neither too firm nor too soft. The leather upholstery was soothingly plush. I felt as if the chair not only supported the sitter, but also opened its arms wide too. Embrace and hold them. I reclined in the chair, sinking deeply into the cushion, stroking its armrests, my heart floating with delight. At that moment, an utterly bizarre thought struck me. I didn't want to part from the chair I had just completed. Like a mother who has carried and birthed a child, unable to bear someone taking her flesh and blood away, I couldn't endure separating from the chair, but I had to deliver it to the client, so I conceived a bizarre idea. I must go with the chair. You might think me mad, and indeed I was. I disassembled the chair, arranging the interior to allow space for legs in front, arms on the armrests. The back and head could lean against the chair's back. I carefully added air vents so the person inside wouldn't suffocate and could hear outside noises. I even created small compartments for storing food and water bottles. With those supplies, someone could stay inside for 2 or 3 days. After completing the plan, I crawled inside the chair, feeling as if I had buried myself alive in this peculiar tomb. Inside, it was pitch black, like a grave, and to those outside, I had vanished into nothingness. Soon, the client came to pick up the chair. My assistant, oblivious to my bizarre scheme, handled the delivery on my behalf. As 4 porters hefted the chair onto the truck, they exclaimed, "Good Lord, this thing weighs a ton." Hearing their cries, I froze, terrified they'd suspect someone was hidden inside. But the chair itself was heavy, so no one questioned it. The chair was taken to the hotel and placed in a lounge on the ground floor. As you might guess, I waited for nightfall, when all was silent, to slip out of my tomb. Who would imagine someone emerging from a chair? I roamed freely, rummaging through every room in the hotel. If I heard a noise, I darted back to my hideout. It was foolproof. You may have heard of hermit crabs on the beach, scuttling to feed, but retreating into their shells at the sound of footsteps. I was like that crab, my shell the chair. My idea was so ingenious that no one suspected my strange actions. Thanks to this, my adventure was a complete success. By the third day, I'd caused a stir in the hotel, but it thrilled me. Nothing was more exhilarating than slipping back into my safe haven, just as people scrambled around, shouting, "He went this way," or "No, that way." But amid this thrilling, dangerous game, I endured certain torments. The worst was when hefty Europeans sat on the chair, their weight compressing the springs until they pressed against me, separated only by a thin layer of fabric. Their backs rested squarely on my chest, their arms on mine, the smoke from there. Cigars drifting into my hideout, stinging my nose. I wanted to sneeze, but held it in, fearing discovery. Cold sweat poured from me, but somehow I endured the discomfort. From that day, more people took to the grand chair in the lounge. They took turns sitting on my lap, unaware they were atop a living person. You might wonder why I endured hiding in that dark, stifling tomb. What could be enjoyable about it? In truth, it was immensely enjoyable, madam. I felt like a creature in a strange new world, one I gradually grew accustomed to. I could sense who sat on me without seeing them. Fat people pressed heavily against me. Thin ones barely touched, like I was holding a skeleton. I could distinguish people with uncanny precision. Their shapes varied as distinctly as fingerprints or faces. Women generally fell into two types: ordinary and beautiful dot in my dark world. Facial beauty was secondary. For someone in my peculiar position, beauty lay in form, voice, and scent. The first woman to sit on me was a European girl, her youth evident in her voice. She was joyful, singing as her voice filled the room. Her laughter, clear and charming, rang out. She clapped her hands in delight before sitting on me for 30 minutes. She sang, her body and feet swaying to the rhythm. This was a new experience for me. I had always shunned women, simply because of my ugliness. Yet now, a beautiful girl sat fully on me, separated only by a thin layer of leather, oblivious to the man thinking of her, singing carefree. This thrilling new development made me forget my original plan to sneak into the hotel to steal. From a thief, I became a hopeless romantic. I hoped my adventure would continue in this intoxicating bliss forever. The chair once. My tomb became a cozy nest. I had found love unrequited, but it made life brighter than ever. Initially, I planned to raid rooms for valuables and flee. Now I wanted to stay. During my nocturnal prowls, I moved lightly, careful not to make a sound. This caution let me remain in the chair for months without detection. Most hotel guests were tourists, staying briefly before leaving. Only a few resided long-term, treating the hotel as home, so I could never love one woman for long. The beautiful European girl I'd chosen left long ago. Many women came to me, and I learned more about their kind. Once, a dancer visiting Japan stayed at my hotel. Though she sat on me only once, she left an indelible, serene sensation I'd never known. When she sat, I was enraptured, as if she wielded a special charm over men. But my adventure took an unexpected turn. For some reason, the owner had to return to his country, selling the hotel to a Japanese buyer. The new owner cut costs, removing lavish decorations, including my chair, which was slated for auction. Hearing this, I was devastated. My first instinct was to return to normal life. I'd stolen a sizable sum, enough to live comfortably. Yet, recalling the strange pleasures of my self-imposed burial in the chair, I couldn't abandon the adventure. A new idea spurred me to continue this bizarre life. At the hotel, I'd only been close to foreign women. I wanted to compare them with Japanese women. Soon, the auction day arrived. A high-ranking official from Tokyo bought the chair, his home a grand mansion. The move was agonizing. My body bruised, but I gritted my teeth, enduring for the hope of living in a refined Japanese household. At the mansion, they placed me in a Western-style study. My greatest joy was that the chair's owner was a young, beautiful woman. She loved sitting on me. One could say she sat all day, except when eating or sleeping. So I spent entire days embracing her exquisite form. Later, I understood why she lingered on me so long. This beautiful young woman was a writer, and she sat on me to think, read, and write. You cannot imagine the depth of my love for her. She was the first Japanese woman I had the fortune to be close to. Moreover, she had a stunning figure. She was the ideal woman I worshipped, my true idol. Love came to me with an intensity beyond measure. I couldn't bear to be apart from her. For a moment, when she was absent, I felt an unbearable longing, my heart achingly empty. I counted every second until I could be near her again. This love rivaled that of Romeo and Juliet. Gradually, I yearned to express my feelings to her. But how? If I revealed myself, she might faint, mistaking me for a demon. Or she'd scream, and her husband and servants would rush in to seize me. No, I could never show my face. I had to find another way. That way was to ensure her utmost comfort. Whenever she sat on me, I wanted her to see the chair as an intimate friend, indispensable, and that would satisfy me completely. I always strove to make her comfortable when she sat on me. When she grew tired from sitting long, I subtly shifted my thighs to ease her, making her feel cozier. When she dozed off, I gently rocked to lull her deeper into dreams. I felt she loved the chair, too, for each time she sat, she seemed delighted. Like a child in a mother's arms, or a girl caressing her lover. My silent love grew stronger each day, and I would die content if she merely smiled at me once. Madam, by now you've likely guessed who this beauty is. To speak plainly, it is you. From the moment your husband bought the chair and placed it in your study, I began to know the mingled pain and joy of one who dares to drown in the sea of love. The moments near you were the happiest of my life. But the greater the joy, the deeper my anguish, for I am a wretched, repulsive creature. I ask only one thing. Might you allow me to meet you once? I seek nothing more. I may be utterly unworthy, but I hope your kindness will grant me this favor. Out of compassion, last night I slipped out of your mansion to pour my heart into this confession. Do you know, as you read this letter, I am wandering in your garden, my heart pounding with anxiety? If you accept my plea, please hang your handkerchief on the vase outside your window, and I will enter your mansion as a humble guest. The letter ended there. Before finishing it, Mrs. Yoshiko's intuition had warned her she was the central figure in this grotesque tale. Her face drained of color. Like a coiled spring, she leapt up and fled the room. She avoided the chair where, for months, she had sat for hours in comfort. At times, she wanted to stop, tear the letter to shreds, but she pressed on, determined to finish it. When she did, she realized her intuition was right. Could her favorite chair truly harbor a person? If so, it was a horrifying, macabre reality. The more she thought, the more her skin crawled, a chill running down her spine, as if ice water had been poured over her. She stared blankly at the ceiling, trance-like. After a moment, she calmed enough to think. Should she inspect the chair to uncover the truth? She lacked the courage to approach that sinister seat. "Madam, there's mail." Yoshiko jumped at the sudden voice. Turning, she saw someone at the door, holding an envelope. She took it and let out a terrified cry. Another letter from that dreadful man. Her name was scrawled clearly on the envelope, in the same crabbed handwriting. She hesitated for a long time, torn over whether to open it. Finally, mustering all her courage, she tore open the envelope and read out the second letter was brief. "Forgive my boldness in sending you another letter. Let me put you at ease. I am an admirer of your literary talent. The manuscript I sent, disguised as a letter, is entirely fictional. I crafted this bizarre tale upon learning your husband bought that chair. This is my first work, and it would be an honor if you would critique it. What do you think? If you find it somewhat intriguing, that would be a great reward for my writing efforts. In the first letter, I omitted the title to make you think it was a letter. Now, I propose to call it the Amorous Chair. Do you approve? With utmost respect and best. Wishes for your success." Third story. The first time James set foot in the misty, ancient town of Blackwood, nestled in the shadowy heart of the Carpathian Mountains, everything felt unfamiliar, tinged with an eerie chill. His old friend Marcus had spoken of a mysterious young woman named Eleanor, the daughter of a wealthy estate owner, whom Marcus promised to introduce to James if their stars aligned. The family James was staying with for a few weeks of exploration in these haunted highlands was Marcus's uncle and aunt, powerful landowners in Blackwood. From the moment he arrived, they welcomed him warmly, offering privileges that carried an unsettling undertone. As the old lord of the manor said, his voice low and cryptic, "Whenever you wish to venture into the forest, just say the word. I'll send someone to guide you. There are things in those woods that defy explanation." Last night, Eleanor, the enigmatic daughter of the house, took James for a walk through the cobblestone streets of Blackwood. She called it a stroll, but in this quiet, fog-laden town, there was little to see beyond the flickering gas lamps and the occasional shadow darting through the mist. Eventually, they ended up at a dimly lit tavern, its sign creaking ominously in the wind. Eleanor leaned close and whispered, "This place. It's the best in town. People say it's haunted." They sat in the tavern for over an hour, the air thick with the scent of damp wood and something faintly metallic. James couldn't stop himself from asking about the dense, foreboding forest that loomed just beyond the town's edges. Tales of lost travelers, whispered legends of creatures that stalked the night. Eleanor's eyes narrowed, a strange glint in them. "You talk as if you came here just to unravel the forest's secrets," she said, her voice tinged with unease. James gave a hollow laugh. "Maybe I've read too many Gothic novels, heard too many ghost stories. The forest calls to me. Its darkness, its mysteries. Haven't you ever ventured into its depths, Eleanor?" Her face paled, and she answered with unsettling honesty. "I grew up surrounded by those woods, but I've never set foot in them. They terrify me. I dream of escaping to London, where the streets are alive and the shadows don't whisper back." James launched into a grim lecture about the chaos of city life. London has its charms, but it's a cacophony of noise and deceit. Here, In the quiet of Blackwood, there's a stillness, especially in the forest. It feels like it's hiding something ancient, something alive. Eleanor's expression darkened. The forest again, she muttered, her voice barely audible. Over the crackling fire. I'm tired, James. Let's go. He sensed her irritation. Marcus had warned him that Eleanor expected a charming, sophisticated guest, not someone obsessed with the macabre. James sighed. All right, let's head back. The walk to the manor was silent. The only sound the crunch of gravel underfoot, and the distant howl of wind through the trees. As they parted ways at the grand staircase, James tried to salvage the moment. Sorry, Eleanor. I got carried away with my fascination for strange things. Eleanor offered a tight, unsettling smile, her eyes glinting in the candlelight, and slipped into her room without a word, no goodnight, no warmth. James was certain she was angry, and he resolved to make amends the next day. But barely. An hour later, as the clock struck midnight and the house groaned under the weight of its own secrets, a soft knock came at his door. James? Eleanor's voice was a whisper, almost swallowed by the wind outside. I have something for you. He opened the door, and his blood ran cold. In her hands, illuminated by the flickering candle she held, was a pair of rugged, mud-stained boots. For the forest, she said, her smile now sharp and knowing, as if she could see the darkness that awaited him. You'll need them. For what's out there? Eleanor's smile was soft, almost ghostly in the dim candlelight. I may not care for the forest, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but Father has collected all sorts of things for it. These boots? He bought them for men who dare to tread where shadows linger. I've kept them all this time, waiting for someone, fated to wear them. James felt a strange warmth flood through him, the tension in Eleanor's voice replaced by an eerie calm. Thank you, he said, his tone light but cautious. A gift from a beautiful lady adds a certain charm to these boots. Eleanor's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. I'll let that slide since you're a guest. And because Marcus called earlier, insisting I not let you feel unwelcome. James chuckled. So Marcus is pulling strings from afar. Don't get cocky. Eleanor teased, her eyes glinting in the firelight. So, are you planning to venture into the forest tomorrow? James's face lit up, though the thought sent a shiver down his spine. Is someone going with me? Eleanor tilted her head, her expression unreadable. What? You think I can't arrange a guide for you? Ungrateful, are we? No. James backpedaled, laughing nervously. I didn't mean it like that. I just didn't expect. Through Marcus's uncle, a grim-faced man who owned the estate, James was arranged a camping trip into the heart of the Carpathian forest. Eleanor was supposed to join, but fate had other plans. Just before the trip, she slipped on the manor's ancient, creaking staircase, twisting her ankle. The expedition seemed doomed, but Eleanor, her face pale and her voice oddly resolute, suggested otherwise. You should go, James. It's your chance. I'll rest here for a few days. Can be fine. Reluctantly, James agreed, driven by his obsession with the wild, untamed forest. Before he left, Marcus's uncle, a former hunter, who had spent decades in these haunted woods and once married a mysterious woman from a local Romani clan, pulled him aside. His voice was low, almost a growl. If you seek truth and loyalty in a woman's heart, look to the daughters of the wild. The Romani girls, they carry the forest's secrets in their blood. James couldn't shake the old man's words. In his mind, the polished women of London paled in comparison to the enigmatic allure of the forest daughters, known to him only through old photographs, whispered tales, and the hunter's cryptic stories. He vowed that this journey would be his chance to uncover their mysteries, to meet them face to face. For the first time, James trekked through the dense, fog-choked forest, climbing for over 4 grueling hours. His legs screamed for mercy, each step heavier than the last. He turned to Victor, his grizzled guide, a local who seemed to know every twisted route and hidden path. "Can we rest here for a bit?" James panted. Victor's eyes, sharp as a wolf's, scanned the surroundings. "No, 2 more ridges to cross. It gets too dark to move if we linger." All day, whenever James asked how far they had to go, Victor's answer was the same: just a few more hills. Now, as exhaustion clawed at him, James slumped against a gnarled tree, ready to collapse. But Victor's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You don't rest here? Not now. Don't. You see the signs?" He pointed to a series of strange, carved symbols on the trees ahead, glowing faintly in the twilight. "We move. Now, James's heart thudded. He suddenly understood why Eleanor, a daughter of this land, feared the forest's depths. Yet the old hunter's words echoed in his mind. The forest is cruel, but once you're in its grip, you'll understand why no one can ever leave. Only by walking its paths do you uncover its secrets. Steeling himself, James pressed on. The boots Eleanor had given him fitting perfectly, as if they were made for this cursed journey. Each step felt like a descent into something ancient, something watching from the shadows. The boots Eleanor had given James fit perfectly, sparing his feet from pain despite the grueling trek. Still, he refused to show weakness in front of Victor, the weathered guide whose sharp eyes seemed to see through him. James could already imagine Victor reporting back to Eleanor, and her mocking smirk as she shrugged at his struggles. It was nearly 4 in the afternoon when Victor finally spoke, his voice cutting through the oppressive silence of the forest. "We're here." Before James stood a cluster of ancient weathered cabins, their wooden frames sagging under the weight of time, perched on stilts like silent sentinels in the misty Carpathian wilderness. Victor gestured toward them. "The people here are kind, secluded. They rarely see city folk, but they warm to strangers quickly." His words seemed meant for James alone, a nod to the young man's earlier confession on the trail, that he hoped to meet the elusive Romany women of the forest, gathering stories for his university thesis on forgotten folklore. Before they approached the nearest cabin, Victor leaned in, his voice low and grave. "These people are honest to a fault. Whether you've just met or known them for years, they treat you like kin. If they offer you anything, food, drink, hospitality, don't refuse. It's their way. Remember that." True to Victor's words, the moment James stepped into the cabin, the Romany couple who lived there greeted him with unsettling warmth, their rapid, unfamiliar dialect spilling out in a torrent. Victor translated, his tone flat. "They're delighted to have a guest like you. Tonight, the whole village will prepare a feast, wild game, mulled wine, the works." Exhausted, James mumbled something about needing a bath. Victor pointed toward the shadowed forest beyond. "There's a stream out there, but you'd get lost on your own. Wait for Anya, their daughter. She'll guide you." Victor exchanged a few hushed words with the hosts, their faces unreadable in the flickering lamplight. He turned back to James. "Anya's bathing at the stream now. They say you can head out there if you want to wash. I'll show you the way." It took less than a minute for James to hear it. A faint splash ahead, followed by the eerie, lilting laughter of women. He froze, hesitant to approach, but Victor's voice rasped behind him. "Don't just stand there. Go down and bathe. I'll call out to them so they won't be startled. Otherwise, they'll scream." Sure enough, after Victor shouted something in the local tone, a soft, melodic response echoed from the stream. He nudged James. "They're inviting you down." Victor led him forward, but as James stumbled on a slick root, he lurched to regain his balance, nearly tumbling down the bank. When he glanced back, Victor was gone, swallowed by the fog. The stream murmured before him, its waters dark and glassy, reflecting nothing but the twisted branches overhead. James scanned his surroundings, his pulse quickening. Just moments ago, he'd heard voices. So close, where were they now? Suddenly, his foot slipped on the damp stones, and he plunged into the icy stream with a splash. A chorus of laughter, sharp, almost otherworldly, erupted nearby, making his face burn with embarrassment. Gathering his courage, he called out, "I'm new to this place, not used to bathing in streams. You could help a stranger instead of laughing." A voice, clear yet accented, answered from the shadows. "Come here." Forgetting his shame, James waded toward the sound, his heart pounding. In the dim light, he glimpsed two figures, women, their silhouettes barely discernible against the mist. They seemed to beckon him toward the center of the stream, where the water ran deeper, colder. Emboldened, he pushed forward, drawn to their call, unaware of the eyes watching from the darkened woods dot. As James waded deeper into the icy stream, his hand brushed against something or someone. A figure, soft and cold as moonlight, with skin that gleamed like polished marble. He stumbled back, heart pounding, only to find himself staring into the eyes of a young woman, her long hair cascading over her shoulders, barely concealing her ethereal, breathtaking form. Her smile was intoxicating, otherworldly, pulling him into a trance he couldn't resist. "I didn't mean to," James stammered, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry." She said nothing, only laughed a sound like wind chimes in a forsaken graveyard. Then, with a playful glint in her eyes, she darted forward, as if inviting him to chase her through the water. Caught in the moment, James plunged after her, his mind still reeling from the fleeting touch of her skin, a sensation both thrilling and unnerving. Further and further. He didn't know how far he'd followed her, lost in the chase, until he realized the sky had darkened, the forest now cloaked in an oppressive, unnatural night. Fear crept into his chest. "Miss," he called, his voice echoing unanswered. "We should go back." No response came, but something cold and unyielding wrapped around his legs beneath the water, yanking him forward with terrifying force. He thrashed, gasping, as the current seemed to come alive, dragging him across the surface. Strange guttural sounds filled the air, whispers, laughter, or something worse. A voice hissed close to his ear, so clear yet impossible to place. He's a city boy. Doesn't know he's wandered into the cursed hollow. He might still be alive. A hand grazed his chest, then another lifted his arm. Pain shot through his body, sharp and searing. The same voice, now familiar, spoke again. Bruises. Purple marks on both sides. It's the work of the forest spirits. A jolt of agony ripped through James, and he screamed, his eyes snapping open. He was no longer in the stream. The faces of Eleanor, her parents, and Victor loomed over him, their expressions grim. He was back in the manor, in the same room he'd slept in before the trek. The forest, the girl. He gasped, lurching upright. His strength failed, and he collapsed, his body burning as if consumed by fever, his mind spiraling into delirium. Victor's voice was heavy with dread. "I'm worried, but I haven't said it yet." Finally, he spoke his words, laced with a taboo weight. "He's been taken by a forest spirit. Her name, Anya." At the mention of her name, James convulsed, his eyes wild, as if possessed. Victor continued, his voice low and haunted. "I kept this from you. When you didn't return from the stream, I grew suspicious. I asked her parents, and they confessed Anya drowned there over 2 months ago. They hid the truth to protect the village. When a young woman dies in the river, the old tales say her soul is claimed by the water spirits. She wanders, restless, starving, haunting the place of her death, waiting for someone to take her place. You, James, stumbled into her domain and were claimed by her spirit. That same day, Marcus arrived from London, summoned by a frantic message from Eleanor's parents. A skeptic to his core, Marcus scoffed at tales of ghosts and curses. "This is nonsense," he snapped, turning to Eleanor. "Help me get him to a hospital, now." From the small, dimly lit hospital in Blackwood, James was transferred to a larger facility in London. For a week, he lingered in a haze, half-conscious, his fevered breaths whispering the name of the forest girl, Anya, as if her presence still clung to him like a shadow dot. By the 8th day, signs of recovery emerged. James's eyes flickered with clarity as he recognized the figure beside his hospital bed. "You've gone through so much trouble for me, Eleanor," he murmured, his voice weak but grateful. Eleanor's hand tightened around his, a gesture that stirred something deep within him. Despite having only met her briefly before his ill-fated journey into the Carpathian wilds, James felt an unexpected closeness to her, as if their shared ordeal had woven an invisible bond. Eleanor's gaze softened, her eyes brimming with quiet encouragement. "Get better soon," she said, her voice trembling with unspoken emotion. Their eyes locked, heavy with words neither dared to speak. Months passed, and James never again uttered Anya's name, as if the forest's grip on him had finally loosened. The one who rejoiced most wasn't James, but Eleanor. From Blackwood, she called him in London, her voice bright yet tinged with caution. "Don't come back here, James. Wait for me in London, we'll talk then." In her heart, Eleanor dreaded the thought of James returning to Blackwood, a place now stained with the memory of his encounter with the forest's curse, as Victor had described. Though she dismissed the tale of Anya's vengeful spirit, a nagging unease lingered like a cold hand brushing her spine. When Eleanor arrived in London, she brought news that left James stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief. "What did you say? Your parents? They've agreed to let me marry you?" Eleanor leaned into his shoulder, her voice soft but firm. "On one condition, you never speak of those forest girls again." "Done," James replied without hesitation. "And you must never set foot in the forest again," James faltered. But Eleanor pulled back, her face hardening, eyes flashing with a mix of fear and resolve. "You won't agree, will you?" James softened, a sheepish smile breaking through. "Fine, I surrender to your command." Thank you for your enthusiasm. The 3 stories have ended, but I'm curious to know which one you like the most. If you want to hear a mystical tale, I can tell you about the curse under the moonlight, a chilling legend about a village, haunted by darkness that only appears during a full moon. Would you like to hear it, or do you have a story to share in return? Wishing you a wonderful day as well, and if you want to keep chatting about mysterious stories, just let me know.